FM.
I put these on, or
Yeah, these on there. The radio side of things. They get started. There we are. So, well, first of all, thank you for coming.
no worries. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So, obviously, we know each other from the HBA, the Health Performance Academy.
Yeah.
So, like I remember you with these interviews, can you introduce yourself? You know who you are. You know what's your profession and all that.
So I'm Caitlin Morris. I'm currently working for Saints Foundation in a school. So I'm working with young people that may be at a disadvantage, which is a really rewarding job. Playing sort of wise, I visit Southampton FC most recently, which was a really great experience. Got promoted into the Championship. Before that, I was at Cardiff and represented Wales at under-19s level. I've been on a Wales senior camp. And then, so I'm kind of got injured this season, so I'm out at the moment. But yeah, that's kind of been the background of football.
Cool. So, did you do any other sports prior to football?
Yeah, so when I was in school, well, even before school, I started off actually doing like dance. I was rubbish, so I was so bad at dance. I did ballet and jazz, which I wasn't very good at, so it didn't last very long. Did lots of swimming. I loved swimming when I was younger, so I completed all of like my sort of swimming badges. Went on to do lifeguarding, which was really cool. And then within school, any kind of sport that was available to play. I played bar hockey. Not a hockey fan. I'm rubbish at it as well. But I loved netball, so I played for the school netball team. Loved athletics. So I represented my county in javelin a few times. I think I went to English schools 1 year for javelin. And then loved the relay as well. So kind of any sport that was available, I tried to take part in. But football's always been kind of the main one for me.
Yeah. And why in particular football in the end?
So my mum played football when she
okay.
was younger. She'd probably say that she would be better than me if she had the same opportunities. So yeah, my mum was a massive influence in that. And I just loved the sport. Yeah, I started playing it for a boys' team when I was maybe 4 or 5. I was pretty young. And it's like I remember my first slide tackle that I made ever. Like it's a memory that I think will be with me forever. And I just absolutely love the sport. I think the team element, I'm such a social person, so having that kind of team element was a real big sort of factor for me in terms of how much I like the sport. But yeah, I mean, I live and breathe football. I play it, coach it, watch it, talk about it probably too much. So yeah, I suppose that's why it's just the sport as a whole is just it's hooked me really.
Yeah. And because when you were younger, women's football probably wasn't as big as it is now. So growing up, you were probably put into boys' teams, and then when did women's football become big?
Yeah, I was quite fortunate. So I played for a boys' team up until I was about 8, and then I played for Hampshire Centre of Excellence, which was an academy. So I was there from 8 to 16, but we were a real small kind of minority of people that had that opportunity. I know, a lot of girls sort of growing up had to play with boys at school. I grew up playing football with boys at school. I was really fortunate. I had a really good friend group. They were pretty okay with me. They treated me like a boy. I think I spent quite a lot of the time on the floor being absolutely clattered by them. I think, definitely growing up, I sort of feel like I've been really fortunate to witness the change and how much the game has progressed. Even when I was 16, I moved to Wales to go to college, and I was playing with Cardiff at the time, who were in tier 3 of women's football. But that was still at a point where we would have to pay to play. So we would pay for our own kit. If we were going to an away game, we would pay like £5 to have minibus travel. Whereas, now you're looking at clubs in tier 3, you've got quite a lot of clubs pay their players' expenses. The Championship has now gone pretty much full time. So I think pretty much all the teams in the Championship are full-time professionals, whereas even sort of 5-6 years ago, you're looking at that wasn't, Championship players were part-time players. They weren't getting paid to play. It wasn't really an option necessarily to be a professional footballer unless you're in that real elite small minority of players, sort of with your Chelsea, Arsenals. But actually now the way that the game has developed, I think the Women's Euros recently has seen another really big spike in it. I think it's been a quite steady progression, but then with the Euros, there's been a real high spike, which has been a really positive thing. So I think it's been nice to kind of, I think it's been slowly getting there over the last sort of, since I've been playing it. So the last sort of, especially 5-6 years, I think it's been more sort of out there and more accepted. But I think the Euros sort of this, like the real recent one, I think there's going to be, like I say, a really big spike in how much it's kind of accessible and sort of not only to play, but for people to watch and read about and see about. So I think that would be quite a noticeable sort of rise in it, hopefully.
Yeah, well, especially when, it was a home Euros, lots of little girls watching it and going to the games to watch it and all that. It was unbelievable. And yeah, massive improvement in the WSL and other clubs, getting more attendance, workflows and all that.
Yeah, definitely.
So you're a defender. Are you left back?
No, I'm a centre back.
Oh, centre back.
Yeah, centre back. My left foot's not that good. I'm not sure I'd be left back. I'd be cutting in on my right foot all the time, so I'd be the most predictable left back ever.
So presumably you played in other positions before, and then you ended up at defence. So did you do striker, or what was your sort of role?
So when I was younger in Hampshire, up sort of between under 10s up to maybe under 14s, under 15s, you're kind of expected to just play in every position.
Okay.
So I think a lot of the time it's quite easy to maybe pigeonhole someone. Say you've got someone who's quite tall, you'd sort of maybe put them in a certain position because of their physical characteristics. But then obviously as they grow and they change, then you kind of miss out on that. I've always been, so I have played in other positions. Like I said, I kind of would rotate. I don't mind playing anywhere really, apart from in goal. Don't know what it is. Like if I'm playing centre back and someone takes a shot, I'm more than happy to put my body on the line and block it and get anything in the way of it. But if you put me in goal, I'm just like, actually, I'm not. I don't know how to dive. I've tried to practice, but I just don't know. I don't understand the mechanisms of how someone dives. And I just get a bit scared in goal. Like I don't know what the difference is, but yeah, like that is exactly it. Put a pair of goalkeeper gloves on me and I'm useless. So other than being in goal, there's not really any positions that sort of didn't like playing, but I think I've always, like, I'm an out and out, I probably sound quite an old school defender. Like I love big tackles, I love a slide tackle, I love sort of being the physical aspect of the game. So I think although I've played other places, I've always sort of preferred playing in defence. That's always been kind of my bread and butter, I suppose. So yeah, probably around sort of under 15s was when I started to be like, actually, this is kind of where I really enjoy playing. And centre back has just kind of been where I've sort of I've just fallen in love with the position, and that's where I like to play. Maybe in certain games I wouldn't mind playing sort of as a fullback. It's a lot more running than I would do in centre back as a fullback, or potentially centre mid, but more of a defensive centre mid. But again, so much more turning around, so you've got to be able to turn around a lot more. So that's kind of I suppose I have played elsewhere, but sort of nailing it down, it has always been defender has always been where I've liked to play.
And you played for Wales in the under
19s,
so how did you get spotted into football? Did you just sort of like go along, hello, I'm play, or I was.
So in Hampshire, so when I was playing, there were things called ETCs, which were like sort of elite talent camps with England. So I'd gone on a couple of England camps at maybe under 15s level, but wasn't sort of get paid regularly for them. And there was a girl who was in the age group above me who had just gone on a Wales camp, and I'm half Welsh, so I actually think I went on the Wales FA website, and there was like almost a comment box where you could ask questions, and I think I just put in the comment box like, so I'm half Welsh, so how do I go about sort of getting someone to come and look at me, potentially look at taking me on a camp, and didn't really hear anything back from it. And I think we were playing, I don't know who we were playing, but I showed up to a game one morning on a Saturday, and the general director of Hampshire, she came up to me, she said, congratulations. And I sort of looked at her, congratulations for what? I've not done anything. And she's like, you're going on an under 19s camp. So I just got put on I assume they'd seen it somewhere. I'd seen that I played for Hampshire. I still to this day don't know if anyone came and watched me. But yeah, I went on a 19s camp, so I was 16, so that must have been 2016, I suppose, was when I first went. And it was just a training camp. And then yeah, I went on, sort of was in the squad for those, and then we went to my first Euros was Macedonia. So I went to Macedonia, and then went to Kazakhstan after that for Euros, which was a really cool experience. So yeah, I don't really know. My answer is I don't know. I put a comment in a box on a website, and it all kind of just went from there.
That's informative.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the reason you picked Wales apart from England was because you've not been picked, basically.
Yeah, like in terms of, everyone always asks me Wales or England, and if I'm being cheeky, I'll say whoever's doing better at the time, which is a joke. But yeah, I think for me, I was kind of at the point where international football was international football, and I'm really pleased that I did contact Wales, because there was no guarantee that anything would have ever happened. No. And actually, I had some amazing memories and amazing experiences with Wales. And yeah, like I'm in contact with a lot of the girls now, so which is really nice. And yeah, I probably would never have gone to Macedonia and Kazakhstan on a holiday, so it's cool places to say that I've been. And yeah, I've had some really good experiences from that.
So you said you were 16 when you went out, so presumably that was GCSEs times?
Yeah, so I think so I'd finished GCSEs in the summer, and then it was the September, October of that year that I went out. So I just started college. But I was quite fortunate with my college. They called it was like a national academy sort of college. So they basically got a lot of girls that were playing for Wales at the time to all go to college together. So we were on like a full-time training model. So we'd train during the day. We'd obviously have like our college course, but that was a really unique experience. I think there was 14 of us in the class. So we would sort of Monday to Friday we'd get to go in, we'd train in the morning, 8 a.m. I think were some of the training days, which was real tough to some of the girls were not keen on the 8 o'clock start. So we'd sort of go in, we'd had our college course built in around training. So that was, again, in terms of getting time off of camps and stuff, it was ideal, because sort of the Wales setup was why we were at college. So it was a really nice mixture. So yeah, I just finished GCSE, so that didn't clash too much. But yeah, around the college courses, it was nice that sort of the tutors and the staff knew that we would be going on camp, so it all kind of worked out quite nicely.
Yeah, that's quite nice, isn't it? To be able to have that flexibility around studies and
100%.
Yeah. So before, obviously, we're in City of Southampton, where you played. What were your previous clubs before coming to Southampton?
So not many, to be honest. So I'd say I was with Hampshire from when I was 16, which so it was previously Southampton, but when they got relegated, they basically probably a bit of a touchy subject, but sort of released the women's team. So the FA took it over. So I represented them from 8 to 16, went across to the college when I was 16. So I moved to Wales, and while I was there, I played for Cardiff City Ladies. So that was a really good experience from as a 16-year-old, going from youth football essentially, where everyone was really nice, and you got minutes, and it was sort of equal game time, and probably quite fluffy, to them being a 16-year-old in a senior environment. I think in terms of both as a person and a player, that was really good for me. Maybe grow up quite quickly, because I then had a manager he was great, and ended up having a really good relationship with him, but very different to a youth coach. So I'd kind of, if I had a bad game, he wouldn't hesitate to tell me that I'd had a bad game. But yes, I was at Cardiff for 2 years then. And then when I was 18, so I did my ACL in Kazakhstan. So sort of didn't finish out the season with that. And then when I finished college, I came to Solent Uni. So that's when I moved back to Southampton, and Southampton FC then signed me. So I think I was halfway through my rehab when I signed with them. So then I spent, sort of 2018 to 2022 with Saints. So I was there for 4 seasons, which was some incredible memories, and I've met some amazing people through that. And then plan this season was to go to Oxford, but obviously I've done my knee, so I'm kind of with Oxford at the moment, who again I've got so many good things to say about how they've sort of supported me so far. But yeah, that's been it really. I've not been much of a club hopper. I've kind of stayed in places for quite a long time.
So with Cardiff, was it always going to be a 2-year contract, or was it just with their studies and then moving.
Yeah, I think it made sense while I was in college. And Cardiff trained at the same facilities where I went to college as well. So in terms of, and again, there was maybe 4 or 5 of us that were at college and played for Cardiff as well. So again, it was quite a nice sort of it's difficult at times to manage sort of your training load with college and then with Cardiff. But yeah, while I was living there, it was quite close to where I was staying at the time. So I think it kind of made sense. And then obviously I wanted to go to university. I think I'd kind of done 2 years away of living, so I'd kind of experienced that living away from home. Financially, it made sense, to be honest, to come back, and it's expensive to live away, and so it made sense to come out. Solent obviously had the draw of like the HPA and things like that. So I think when I came sort of back here, it made sense then to look at going to Saints.
Yeah, so I was no idea of I'm going to stay in Cardiff, go to a university in Cardiff. That was never on the cards.
I think I applied to Cardiff Met. I got in, but I think for me it just made more sense to come back. Nothing against Cardiff as a club at all, because it was great. But again, like where I was in quite a tough time of rehab. Having an injury is tough enough as it is, but then sort of being a 3-hour train journey away from your support system and your family, it was quite kind of tough. And so I think I was about maybe 5 or 6 months into my rehab at that point, and just weighing up all the options, I think coming back and going to university at Solent made the most sense.
Yes. So you came to Southampton. When did you commit?
To Solent?
Yeah.
Gosh, it must have been 2018 was my first year. Yeah. So
Foundation.
so 2018, which feels like ages ago now. So I think so 2018 to 2021 was my three undergrad years here.
And so you moved back after your contract finished with Cardiff. Did you contact Southampton, or did they contact you, or what was the?
So there'd been staff members that had worked at Hampshire, that then when Southampton sort of took over the side again and it transitioned from Hampshire FA to Southampton RTC, there were staff members that had been there when I was there. So, and my sister was there as well at the time, so I kind of had contacts within the club still. So kind of just had a few conversations with them and said, look, I'm coming back. I'm sort of midway through my rehab, but what's the kind of situation around me signing with you? And the conversations obviously went well. So came in, sort of met the manager, met all the staff and stuff, and then they'd had an under 23 side the year before, which then transitioned into kind of a full-time, but a senior side. So sort of I missed out on that very first season of Southampton being football club because it was newly formed. So then I came in, and the girls were really welcoming. It was a really good environment, especially in terms of my rehab. It was I touch wood, I've had no further issues with that knee. So it was a really good place to come into, and they rehabbed me back into playing, which was it was amazing.
Yeah, and did you join HPA during your first year? You applied for Solent and then for HPA at the same time?
Yeah. So when I applied for Solent, it must have been, I can't remember exactly, but there was a link or some sort of form that you had to fill out. So I applied for the HPA and was fortunate enough to get that my first year, which again, in terms of rehab, it was really nice to be supported by, I still had like Wales support at the time. I had then Saints' support and then Solent support as well. So in terms of being able to get access to the gym, testing machines and things like that, it was, and James Grant was at uni at the time. He was overseeing the HPA and he worked at Saints as well. So there was quite a nice connection between sort of club and university.
Yeah, and most of the viewers or listeners will know what it is. So could you explain what the HPA is? And it's
so it's like a high performance athlete program within sort of Solent, which looks to support athletes that are playing at a sort of an elite level of sport. Support, probably looks quite different person to person. I think the initial kind of thought would be around like the physical support. So I had S&C coaches, I had strength and conditioning sessions, which were really good and again were quite cohesive and working around what I was already doing, sort of in club, but working on sort of specific things like that. But also in terms of the mental side, I think there's a lot of support within that. Kelly was amazing. I think she used to meet me quite often and just hear me vent about how frustrated I was with various things. So yeah, I think the kind of just looks to benefit the athletes in as many ways as possible, whether that is physical, mental, whether it's balancing your studies, and even things like nutrition. You know, if you've got a lot of students that are moving and they're suddenly living in dorms, or they're living in sort of house shares, how do you go from your mum and dad cooking your meals and suddenly having to fend for yourself? So I think it's quite a holistic kind of support for high performing athletes.
Yeah, I had Langton in here for this week's record as well, and then Zach, and then oh, Kelly's brilliant. It's just Kelly. There are other people in that team, but no, Kelly seems to be the main one that everyone just sort of goes to.
Yeah, I mean, I like to say, I think in terms of the physical side, I had Phil my first year, I had Ash, you've obviously got Rob, there's James when he was here, you know, they all do an amazing job. And yeah, I think there's so many positive things said about everyone involved. You know, Bish does amazingly as well. Paul obviously is the one that kind of does the initial sort of recruiting side of it. I think Kelly's just quite unique in terms of what she offers, and I think like I've got so many positive things to say about everybody, but yeah, I know, especially for me, she probably spent a lot of time just going and being like, I think where she was neutral to club as well, so she was just a really good person to go and sort of vent to when things were a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure she'll be able to keep them talking about this. Oh, look, I'm going to mention. So, yeah. So you came to Southampton 2018. What was your course on?
I did football science.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it was, I think it was the first cohort that did it. I think we were. So it was a new course. So there's probably a few teething problems in terms of what it maybe how it was going to go. But yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. The modules and the sort of things that we did within that, the kind of topics and subjects that we covered, really interesting. And yeah, so I graduated with a first in the end, which was a nice kind of bonus to my time at university.
So was that a full 3-year degree?
Yeah.
And then a master's.
So it was supposed to be a built-in master's.
Yeah.
So it was a 3 years, but I ended up graduating after the 3 years and not doing the master's.
Okay.
I think I had an opportunity to do the full-time job that I'm currently doing, and I think it was probably too big of an opportunity for me to pass up. And I think COVID was quite difficult. I think, you know, my last year was during COVID, so in terms of the really positive parts about the course and about university, you'd kind of missed out on them during COVID. And I think I got to a point where I was ready to just start working full time. And I think education, the way I saw it was I can come back and do a master's. It's not it wasn't something that was immediately going to benefit me in terms of the career and the jobs that I wanted to go into. And I think, COVID probably, that sort of 2021 year, impacted kind of my decision slightly around what I was going to do. And that's had an amazing opportunity come up to go into full-time work that wouldn't have worked alongside the master's. So that was kind of why I didn't end up doing the master's and just finished the undergrad.
And so, I mean, so you played for, where was Southampton when you started? What tier were you?
Oh, so tier 5, I think we were when we
had like 3 promotions on the trot then.
Oh yeah, so I think that was the Southern Regional Premier that we played in, tier 5. So that was the season. So I think season obviously starts August, September. I think I made my debut in November, maybe, against MK Dons. I think I came on in as a centre midfielder, actually. Funny enough, speaking about positions earlier.
And
so,
this was a senior side.
Yeah. So we played in that. We finished that season unbeaten. I think we scored 99 goals or something.
Did you score any of those?
I think I did. Not many. That was quite a long time ago. My more recent ones I remember, but yeah, we got promoted that season into the National League, so we were tier 4 then. Nearly completed the season. I think we were top of the league. And then COVID came in, so it then went down to obviously the season just got null and voided. So
it wasn't like just bad points or anything.
No, so yeah, the season just got completely null and voided.
Yeah.
Maybe Do you know what? I actually can't, but for whatever reason, the first season of Tier 4,
Yeah.
we weren't promoted. So it just didn't happen. And then so we came back after sort of lockdown. So yeah, it must have been null and void at the very first season. Came back after the lockdown.
What this was
So this was
September 2020.
yeah. So we started the season. Yeah, so we must have started the season 2019.
Yeah.
Sort of August kind of time. It started off pretty well, and then obviously COVID came in, so the season was null and voided. Restarted, came back in like June, July kind of time. And then so we had the winter lockdown as well. So like both lockdowns were pretty tough in terms of the summer one was okay in terms of like the running and the fitness side of things because it was nice weather. I know I personally found the January to March lockdown really tough in terms of we were on a pretty intense program. So I was getting up at 7 a.m. to go and do a running session because just mentally I found it really difficult having to, the weather and everything like that. So that was quite a tough time. So when we came back in, they basically applied for promotion. So there was a period where they were like, we can't have no movement for 2 years because it's not really fair. You've got teams that are maybe competing above their level. You've got teams that are ready to step up. So it was an application process. And we were granted the application to move up into Tier 3. So that was a really positive thing. It was kind of a shame because it took away. You almost couldn't celebrate because you hadn't officially won the league or sort of had like a promotion sort of party or anything like that. But yeah, we were moved up into Tier 3. And then that was last season. So we played Tier 3 last season. And we got promoted in May this year. So May last year now, so in 2023. But so May last year. So then they're now in the championship and are doing really well. I think they're 3rd or 4th at the moment. Yeah, so it's been a really positive first season for them.
Yeah. And so that was all very good. And you left. So in 2001.
Mm-hmm.
You carried on for another year at Saints. Mm-hmm. So did you have a job in football science, or did you?
So I work currently for Saints Foundation. So I think so. Sort of, it's been January kind of time, and I'd done a couple of casual hours while in a school. Found out about the community champions job and ended up going for that role. So it's not directly linked to football science necessarily in terms of what I deliver, but there's a lot of skills that I picked up sort of from the course that are transferable. I've worked full time. So last year with Saints I was working full time during the day. So my sort of school day would like Monday to Thursday would be kind of I'd get into school for 8, 8:15, finish school at maybe 3:30, 4, would go straight across to Staplewood on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to then train. So I'd be at Staplewood normally sort of 4:30, 5 to 8:30, 9. So they're quite long days. With being at the stadium at St Mary's on a Friday for a normal day, and then some Saturday mornings we would train with Saints, and then Sunday would be a game day. So my life was pretty hectic last year, but so I think there's football science was something that I've not necessarily gone into straight away, but there are a lot of skills sort of that I've taken from that I can apply. We did psychology, for example. One of the units was psychology, so working with young people now that are maybe having sort of issues with their mental health, whether it's anxiety, that sort of thing, it's kind of having those skills from that psychology unit have been really helpful.
Yeah, it's just a bit Kelly, yeah.
A little bit. My inspiration.
Yeah. And so you did that alongside your football.
Mm-hmm.
What was the reason for you leaving? Was it in your contract or?
So obviously we were given like 1-year contracts at the time. So that was kind of the done thing when you're not like in a full-time environment. I don't think many places do more than a 1-year contract. And obviously they were stepping up to the championship, going full-time. I'd been injured since March, so I hadn't really played since then. It was obviously it was quite a tough time. So it's a weird position to be in where you've sort of been at a club for 4 years and you've seen the progression they've made, and then to not sort of make that final step up with them to the championship, it was quite tough. But looking back now, there's a lot of things that I feel have come like positively from that, and it's one of those football, sport in general. It's one of those where just because it's not worked out at one place doesn't mean it's not going to work out somewhere else. So I think it's been, I've obviously, that's I've had an injury since March, and I'm now sort of on the mend, hopefully. So I'm looking forward to sort of getting back playing.
Yeah, and I'm assuming when you got injured, they were like, no, we don't sort of nip you or.
I know, I wouldn't say it's that. I think it's it obviously doesn't help in terms of those last sort of few months. I wasn't able to sort of go on the pitch and almost fight for your spot. Like, I think a lot of it is that I just think it just didn't work out for various reasons. Obviously within sport people have different opinions, and that's always going to be one of those things. But like I say, I love my job as well, so it would have been a really tough thing to have sort of not necessarily risk, but like leave my job that I'm currently doing, because I get so much I get a lot of reward from that job, and I really love it. So I've sort of been it's a bit of a transition, a bit of a time, but it's sport it's like that, isn't it? So but like I say, I'm kind of be nice to get back out playing, and then obviously ambition is to play championship. I think I feel personally that I'm capable of doing that, so it'd be nice to get back up on the pitch, and then see what we can do.
Yeah, and we've had Matt Graves in here a couple of weeks ago doing an interview, and he was saying that he was part of the reserve team. Were you in that at that time?
No, so I think he did Southampton women. So that's the difference, where you've got the Southampton FC women and Southampton Women's FC. So they're two separate clubs, but they always get mixed up. I think Sky Sports mixed up their badges the other day. It's a bit of a nightmare. But so I've come across Matt a couple of times in various kind of scenarios. But I've not played underneath him. Otherwise, I could have given you a review on how good he was.
So you mentioned before this that you are with Oxford Women's.
Yeah.
And what are they? Are they in the championship?
So they're tier 3 at the moment. They came second to Southampton last season in the league. So they're doing really well at the moment. They're sort of up around top of the table. Been a couple of results that haven't gone their way recently, but again, I think it'd be a really good learning curve and hopefully help them push on again for the rest of the season. But I've got only good things to say. Liam, the manager, probably picked me up at a time where I was quite, it's quite obviously a tough time, and he was really good with like the conversations. I've got a really good relationship with him already. And the fact that I'm injured and they're still sort of keeping me around, I really appreciate it. And I think they're doing, I'm seeing the physios, and went out on the training pitch on Tuesday night just to sort of be in and around the girls and being around the environment. So they're a really, really positive setup there.
Yeah, so you never actually played for them yet?
No, so
a couple of training sessions, and then you
literally I think it was maybe I did 2 training sessions, and then my third one my knee just completely gave way again, so that was it. But I mean they've been really, really supportive, so I couldn't thank them enough for that.
And so what's the plan for the future? I mean, are you gonna hopefully, you're in recovery at the moment, aren't you? So you've got 3 months, is it? And then they're able to go back out? Or?
So I'm hoping to play this year at some point. So it's normally like 12 months.
This season, or do you mean
this calendar year? Calendar year. So I think this season's a bit too ambitious, unfortunately. It's normally around 12 months. So I've got 14th of December. So I'm hoping that I can just squeeze in some sort of competitive minutes in 2023. The future, I don't know, to be honest. I never know what the answer is. I think I've probably got, what's been nice is when I've not had football the last few months, I've kind of been able to really focus on my job. Like I said, I love my job, and I like to think I'm quite good at my job, and it's kind of been quite nice.
Kept you so far, so.
Yeah, touch words. I think when you're, and you probably know yourself, when you're in an environment where you're playing sport to a high level, it's quite easy you forget that you've got different parts to you. So I would kind of primarily think of myself as a footballer. And I think having this injury where I've been out for so long already, it's kind of forced me to kind of see that football doesn't define me, and it's not the only thing that I'm good at. And I think obviously the dream is still to play, would be to play professionally. And there's various things I need to see how my knee holds up. I had quite a lot of work done to it, so there's no sort of guarantee around that, and that is still the dream. But I think I could also see myself sort of progressing within my current job. There's just I don't know is my answer. Pete. I'd love to give you an answer, but I'm one of those. I think until you've done stuff, you don't really know.
Does you have any dreams like going to playing with WSL?
Yeah, 100%. Like that's what obviously the dream is still to be a professional footballer.
Yeah.
And yeah, when I was younger, definitely playing in the WSL would have been a dream. But again, I've had so many different dreams, and I've sort of as I've got older, the more sort of different things I've done, the more I've kind of opened my eyes. So actually, I'd be really happy doing this as well. So I suppose I don't really have one necessarily at the moment. I've got sort of various things that I could see myself doing.
Yeah, and would you in the future be able to do your football science thing into your job, or you're at Centre Foundation at the moment? So
so like coaching was always something that I was really passionate about. So I've done a lot of casual coaching. That was something that I did a lot of on the course in terms of like how to coach. I've done my level 1, my level 2. So again, if you'd have asked me maybe 3 years ago while I was at uni, my answer probably would have been that my dream would be to coach in a boys Premier League academy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so not ladies then, not women.
I'm happy coaching women and girls. I think I wanted to. There's not many females that work in male academies, so I think I wanted to kind of break the mold a little bit, and that was why I wanted to do that. So, but yeah, I think like I say, as I've kind of experienced different things, I've kind of found other things that I really enjoy doing. But yeah, potentially coaching, like the football side thing, I really enjoyed the course as a whole. A lot of the sports science side of things, I think, have also helped me like personally in terms of knowing sort of the right exercises to do, sort of rehabbing especially. It's been really helpful. So there's so many elements that and I would never discredit or discount going into that sort of field full time at some point. But just on a personal level already, it's been so beneficial, which has been a really positive thing.
Yeah, and of course we've been a Southampton fan, being close to home, it must be like really really good to sort of like play for your club. It's been really good.
Yeah, it's been amazing. I think I went to, when my mum was pregnant with me, she went to a football game while I was pregnant in her belly. So like Saints through and through. Like the experience I've had sort of being able to play at St Mary's. I played on the pitch at St Mary's in a few competitive games, which is something that a lot of people, a lot of the Saints fans would dream of. So I'm so fortunate to have that. I've scored against Portsmouth.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I can basically retire now, and I've sort of done what I managed to do.
Yeah. That must have been a really really good achievement. Scoring against your local rivals.
It was in the FA Cup, and we were 1-1, and we'd gone to extra time, and I think it was maybe the 112th minute of extra time. And I don't score very often, although I had scored earlier that week as well. I scored in the midweek game, so I was obviously on a bit of a roll. So I scored in that, and that was just an incredible feeling, really. So excited about it, and I think working for the club as well now, I'm just so embedded in me, sort of the values and being part of the club as a whole. So I've had so many good opportunities, whether that's through work, whether it's through football, sort of around Southampton FC. So I'm very fortunate with that.
And you'll never spend your future career, but where do you see women's football going into in the next 10 years? We mentioned the Euros, and so what do you think the future is now for women's football?
I think the future is limitless, to be honest. I think a lot of people forget that women's football was banned for 50 years.
Yeah.
So you look at the amount of progression there's been in men's football over the last 50 years. I think there's sometimes comparison between the two, but you've almost got to compare where men's football was 50 years ago to where women's football is now, because they do have that absolute massive time lag in between. I think it's only going to continue to grow. I think the standard players coming through is like just progressing massively. I look at some of the girls that are in the RTC currently, some of the girls that have come through to the first team recently, younger and younger, they are technically better, they're quicker, they're faster, they move better, because where there's more investment in women's football, the training at a younger age is so much higher They're getting more contact hours, they're having more access to gyms, they're having more access to like plans and things like that. So I look at the sort of how I played as maybe a 14-year-old and the kind of environment that I trained in and I played in as a 14-year-old. The progression in that in the last sort of 9-10 years is absolutely huge. Some of the girls that are coming through now, the young talent, are just absolutely incredible. So I'm really excited to see where it goes, because I think you've got so many different elements. You've got the fact that it's in the media much more, it's generally much wider accepted. England have been really successful, which is a massive positive, but then also it's almost a knock-on effect then that you're creating better quality players, and the game is going to continue to grow in terms of the pace of the game, the technical ability of the players. And it's just, I think as a whole, it's just, you combine all those elements where you're creating better footballers, and then you're also getting more media, you're getting sort of more acceptance of it. I think the rise of women's football is hopefully going to be absolutely massive, and I think it's just, there's so many positives around it at the moment as a whole.
Well, brilliant. Well, that's everything. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I'll just stop recording. If you can stop recording on that as well.
How do I stop recording?
Oh.
Which button did I press? Did you? Should be good at Teams by now.
The 3 dots.
Yeah.
Yeah. Going to record. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like a blooper for you at the end.
There you go.
Voice. Let's go. Voice FM.